All right, Christy, we're back. Episode 3 of the Foundry High School podcast. You ready?
We are.
All right,
Here I
let's
am.
roll. So today, what we want to do is go through the 8 core values of the Foundry. As we have taken the word of the Foundry out to the streets, so to say, we've had a lot of questions from parents about, well, what are the core values?
What does that mean?
What are the core values? What are these based on? And these are actually things that we have had really super in-depth conversations. I think it's going to be, we're trying to keep these podcasts very succinct.
Yes.
I think it's going to be difficult to get all this in, but we're going to try, especially with Christy. We have to.
I like to talk, okay?
Just let you know, she told me before we did this, like, Scott, you have to cut me off. At time, like, all right, so we're going to try to quantify these 8. I have a feeling it might go long, but here we go. So here are the 8 core values, and I think these are very important. So number 1, core values is the development of strong character to create virtuous leaders.
Yes. Teddy Roosevelt is one of my favorite presidents, and he has a quote that says, "The character in the long run is the decisive factor in the life of an individual and of nations alike." And that's absolutely true. We have to take a look at character and recognize that it doesn't matter how smart someone is. If we don't have virtuous leaders, we have serious problems.
Right, it's a problem if you have a leader and they're not virtuous. That's really bad.
Absolutely.
So virtuous is a big deal. Yeah.
So, for those reasons, we've chosen 5 particular virtues that we're going to focus on. We are not a religious school. That doesn't mean we don't have religion. It means that we respect all religions that come. Right. And so those 5 virtues are really super important to a democratic society. And those would be compassion, integrity, justice, responsibility, and civility. And those are the virtues in which we'll be working on with these students. Because without character, what do we really have?
Absolutely. Good. Should I cut you off there?
Please cut me off. I
great.
can go on though.
Oh, I know. Believe me, we all know. We know. Number 2 core value, intelligence is plastic. And, this is a big one for me. This is all about mindset. This is all about being all you can be.
Absolutely. We have, our students are so over-tested that they become really convinced that that number is who I am and that I can't be any better than what that number is. And that's true. That's just not true. I found out recently the IQ test was created as a way to find a floor, to figure out where a person was so that they could improve their intelligence. Not that they're stuck there at that one number. We want to teach these students brain science. We want to teach them how to study, how to develop a growth mindset, just like what you said. We want these kids to realize that they can accomplish more than they even have any idea, that we'll give them the opportunity to discover their passions and their purposes and give them the empowerment to be able to move forward to achieve their dreams.
Absolutely. Number 3, students are capable of... I can't read my own handwriting. Students are capable of complex critical thinking and problem solving.
Absolutely. It's really interesting that we dumb our kids down. We are constantly telling them, no, you can't do that. And we tend to give them these standardized multiple choice tests that if you miss it, it doesn't matter what your rationale was. It doesn't matter, what you were thinking. This is an obstacle. This is the end of the line. No more. You cannot go further. This is what your grade is. And yet we have to look at the fact that most creative geniuses are the ones who find different ways to answer questions. And that's what we're looking for. I thought it was really interesting. Alexander the Great, he was conquering the entire world at 18. Caesar Augustus was a senator at 20. Joan of Arc, she saved France when she was 17. Pascal invented the calculator at age 19. Mozart's first symphony was 8. And yet we are constantly telling our students that they're too young to be able to really accomplish anything. The Foundry is going to be different.
Absolutely. Awesome. The next one is...
For us to break down the walls.
Break down the walls
of traditional
education.
That's a big one.
Is there going to be a handwriting course, by the way? Because I might need to take it. Go ahead.
I understand. Well, our intention is to utilize a highly educated population that exists here in Fayette County to explain to our students what it is they do, how they got there, and how our students can get there as well. We want for the students to be able to take internships with these companies. We want for them to interact with mentors who are subject experts. We want for these kids to be inspired and motivated. And that only happens if we open the doors of our school and recognize that the school is not within our four walls, but it's within our community.
Absolutely. I think this is a really, really big one. Everybody knows what traditional education is. Most people went through the traditional education. And
well, they have for over 100 years,
yeah, Exactly. Well, that's the whole point. So, it's time for a change, and really excited about this. All right, the next one, I can read this one. Making learning relevant.
What we have to do, and this is what we believe is super important, is that we want to take learning out of silos. How many times have we heard kids say, why does grammar matter in my science paper? Because this isn't an English class. That's a problem. That is a huge problem. So we want to incorporate learning into real settings. We want for them to recognize that grammar matters no matter where you use it. In today's world, we often don't ever meet the person that we're working with because we work with them with emails. And if they can't use good grammar, what do we think about that person? It's terrible. So we are making learning relevant from the perspective that we're not just going to study the textbook version of biology. We're going to be studying cancer and then learning about biology through cancer. For history, we're not just going to be studying names and dates. These kids are going to actually be interviewing people and making a video about a particular historic period and how it affected us locally.
Right, which I think is a good segue to our next core value, which is practical and theoretical knowledge.
Absolutely. The educational model that we are in right now is a very traditional model that was created over 100 years, in which some of the giants of industry came together and said, what topics do students need to know? And a lot of that information is still things that we need to know today. However, we have to learn how to apply that in a relevant setting. We live in the industrial age now. It is so easy for us to find information. Our students have got to be able to think critically to figure out how to apply that information and whether or not it's relevant.
And the next one, you mentioned, global interdependence.
Absolutely. We have a small world. And it's getting smaller. I mean, we can travel to across the world in a single day to where people are very different from us. And our students need to be able to recognize that just because someone's different doesn't mean that that's a bad thing or it's wrong. We need to be able to respect that. So global interdependence compels us to understand languages, systems, and cultures. That's why we will have sister schools in other countries when we start learning languages, modern languages, that they can actually interact with by Skype. We have wonderful technology. Why shouldn't we use it? We'll be setting up import-export businesses with other countries to be able to understand what their needs are and they to understand us. It is so important that these students have the opportunity to travel, to be able to see that the world is big and that Peachtree City doesn't encompass it all.
Is there going to be a Lithuanian language course? My wife's Lithuanian. I need to.
She wants to teach it. Have her come on.
You think that'll be heavily attended?
It might be a challenge.
All right. The last one, number 8 of the core values. I think, man, you've really done well holding yourself back here. But number 8, literature, music, and arts are essential aspects of human existence.
Absolutely. The Foundry is designed as a STEM school, but not because we want to create engineers. Those students who want to be engineers, fantastic. But we want for each student to find where their skills are, where their passions are, and where their strengths are. But we know that STEM skills are going to be necessary no matter what they do.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So literature, music, and arts those are encompassed in one of the topics these kids will be learning in design thinking. The humanities are all about questions, about the gray matter that's in between black and white. That's science. It's about answering big questions like what's truth? What is good? What's right or wrong for me to do personally or as a society? The humanities prepare us to fulfill our civic and our cultural responsibilities. And that's why John Harvard left his entire library to a little college in Cambridge that you may have heard of. It's why Jane and Leland Stanford started Stanford University. It familiarizes us with creative ideas for outside of science, and it strengthens our communication skills.
Excellent. Man, we did it. We're at 10 minutes and 50 seconds by my count.
Yay!
That's about 10 minutes shorter than I thought we'd do it. No, but that's good. But hopefully, I think that was great stuff. And hopefully the parents out there really get an idea of what really the core values are that
What's
we're putting
important
together.
to us.
Absolutely. And hope that resonates with folks out there. And we'll
Until the next time.
Yeah, we'll wrap it up now and catch you on the next session.
All right.
Thanks.
Bye.